Beautiful people. Hello, it is Alexander here. And basically, what it is I'm going to be talking about is the concept of what we could call soul shakeups. And, right now, as I'm filming this, I will just say that there has been a huge shift in the way that I've been living my life, where before I used to be motivated by certain things, certain activities, certain actions, I used to hang around certain people, I used to talk about certain things, I used to do certain things, more often than I do right now. But the thing that's mainly been happening as of late is it feels as if though my complete motivations have shifted 180 degrees. It's, the people who hang around, the people I talk with, 180 degrees. The things I talk about, the things that interest me, 180 degree shift. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do like a semi-channeling, it's going to be myself, but just kind of like the higher universal sources giving me information about kind of what's going on, because there's a huge shift in our cosmos, in our universe right now, which is explaining why people are feeling like they are going crazy. And, for those of you who are watching, this in the future, or this, no matter when it is that you watch this, there's, this video is going to explain, the symptoms that you might be having of feeling as if though on some way, shape or form, that you're losing your mind. And I'm going to get into that channeled state real quick. And, I'll just kind of like, let everything roll out. So, there's something shifting in our cosmos right now in which it feels as if though the planet is speeding up, meaning it's, we look at our times, we look at our clocks and whatnot, and we see, if it's 3 o'clock right now, and then it's 4 o'clock an hour from now, from between the passage of time from 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock, it doesn't feel like it's 60 minutes. It feels sometimes as if though it's 10 minutes or 20 minutes, or sometimes it goes like that. It goes instantly in our minds. But basically what's happening right now is the entire speed of our planet is increasing on what we would call a vibrational level. And the way that this is affecting our minds is this is ultimately affecting our evolution. Not just our physical evolution. Of course, we're always physically changing. Cells are mutating, cells are regenerating, everything like that. But really, it's our spiritual evolution, which is evolving at a rate where we are finally getting up to a vibrational speed of which the ideal of mass enlightenment or mass consciousness, is getting to the point where people all over the earth are starting to feel things that they haven't felt before. They're starting to get ideas that they haven't gotten before. They're starting to, people who had no interest in spirituality, people who had no interest in the woo-woo or the new age as we call it, are being magically drawn to it. There's certain platforms such as Facebook, different internet websites, but different networks which are currently established, which are helping facilitate the increased growth of vibrational activity in regards to what we would call the spiritual realm. But on a different level, there's something that happening that we could call ascension. And what I specifically mean by that is this world that we live in, according to most people, there's a mass consciousness belief that the physical world that we live in is the only world that exists. Meaning once you die from this planet, maybe there might be an afterlife, maybe not, but there's a very specific limit that we have, what we could call a 3D reality, which people are starting to, realize is not the case. We are all multidimensional beings who are not just operating in 5 dimensions or 7 dimensions or 12 dimensions, but really we're operating on certain levels of, dimensionality, which is beyond that which the conscious mind can fathom. Now, the lower dimensions, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, these dimensions, even up to the 5th, 7th, 12th, whatever number it is that we want to give to them. The thing about these dimensions is that the lower we are in the dimensional number, the slower or denser these vibrational realities are. Now, to elaborate further on that, whenever we move from the third dimension to the fourth or fifth dimension, we get into the realms of thought, the realms of intuition, the realms of spirit, as we might want to call it. But we begin to start having experiences which are more intuitive, which are more spirit-based, which are not exactly rational in the way that a 1D, a 2D, or a 3D reality would formally perceive. And what I mean by that specifically is this. Before, up until this point, all of us used to be living in our heads, in our minds. We used to have this thing, if I have this phone, I would say, this is Alexander's phone. And I would say, I got this phone because I went to the Verizon wireless store, and it's like I said that I wanted this phone, and it magically came into my life. Actually, looking at things from a 3D perspective, there is no magic, there is no synchronicity, there is no it's very cause and effect. It's a very linear cause to a linear effect, meaning I did this, as a result, this thing happened. Now, we're moving to a 4D and a 5D reality, and here's the thing about it. Because the fact that these are dimensions which are not necessarily seen by our human or physical senses, we're only feeling these things. We're feeling these senses of detachment. We're feeling these senses of, oh my God, I feel like I don't fit in. I feel like I'm going crazy. Am I having these thoughts? Am I having these feelings? Are these really my feelings? Why am I feeling this? I shouldn't be feeling this. Oh my God, it's just I can't stop thinking about this thing. What's happening is, we're beginning to step into our multidimensionality full force. And what I mean by that, to elaborate, is with everything that's going on in our life, we're starting to let go of what we would call ego, but we're, because of the fact that our planet, our consciousness is beginning to speed up, we're starting to realize, and we're starting to step into these 4D, these 5D, 6D, 7D, and everything beyond realities. As we get to the higher and higher realms and dimensions, they actually spin a lot faster than they do on these lower numbered dimensions. But because of the fact that we are in all places at all time, we are ultimately getting affected by things which could be happening in quantum physics, but we're getting affected by things happening in parallel lives, parallel universes, parallel realities, past lives, even things in our future lives can happen. Meaning, future life, meaning it's just the current mindset that our life, our planet, our world has right now. Our future life is just kind of like the trajectory that we're headed on in regards to the current state that we're at right now. Now, the way that our future life can affect us is because there really is no past or future. There's just kind of only one now. Our biological evolution, meaning I used to be a baby, then I was 5 years old, then I was 10 years old, and I kept growing, kept evolving biologically during that time. That, according to, a human being, or just, the collective consciousness belief about time, physical growth, meaning, biological growth, the physical growth of societies with city building, with, growth even in society with inventions and technology. The way, the distance between this place, this relative circumstance or situation in time versus this, this new situation where it's for example, whenever the planes were invented and whatnot, Wilbur and Orville Wright created the first, the Wright glider back in 1903. And the way that we have planes now is completely different from the way that we used to have planes back in, the 20th century. One could say, looking from things at a linear perspective, that because of the passage of time, this ultimately brought, innovation, these new airplanes, these new technological breakthroughs. But ultimately and truly, what's happening is there really was no passage of time. That's, time is just something that, we've created in our minds to help us kind of, deal with things in our life so that we can be like, hey, show up at 5 o'clock, or, I'll see you in 3 days. I'm going to go on this vacation for a month. Time is just a self-created construct. But what's happening right now, and the reason why people are feeling crazy or feeling all these weird emotions or this or that, whatever, is because ultimately and truly we are stepping into this place, we're stepping into a reality where we're transcending the beliefs, we're transcending the old collective beliefs of time, we're transcending the old collective beliefs of having, almost having identity, really, because time, money, and individuality are these some of the most pervasive beliefs that we had. And offhand, if I think about them, it's time, relationships, finances, our careers, our paths, our purposes, and just kind of the way that we fit into all of these things are the kind of the structures or the frameworks, as we could say, that are permeating our culture as a whole. Now, what's happening right now is we are transcending all of these old beliefs, old mental beliefs, old collective consciousness beliefs that we had, and we're stepping into a new reality of what we could call light. Now, as we're doing that, it's creating certain changes in people, where people who normally weren't intuitive are starting to feel things. People who you would never have guessed to be intuitive are starting to be intuitive. And this is not necessarily, regardless of whether they're studying spirituality or New Age or psychicism or whatever it is that we want to call this or label it, the entire planet is experiencing a shift from simply being stuck on the levels of mind, body, and emotion, and we're starting to move to a level of spirit. As we begin to move to these higher levels of spirit, we're ultimately going to have a little bit of a transition period with our old lives and our old situations and our old circumstances with this new life and these new situations and these new circumstances. And to give us a specific example about this is, let's say that someone is, for example, I'll even use like a personal, in this case, I used to have this old life where I had these goals, I had these relationships, I had specific people, specific friends, specific purposes, specific life paths that I had laid out for myself. But as my own consciousness increased and became aware of certain things that were happening, not just on a physical level, but spiritual level, other higher dimensional levels, I started getting to this point where things stopped mattering, where I just stopped caring about the things I used to. Now, other people would, look at me and be like, "Oh, Alexander, you're just losing your motivation. You're being demotivated." Something like that. That's an old world label. That's a human label to what some people are giving to what we could call the Ascension process. The sense of detachment is not necessarily being detached from the world. It is being detached from the old world, but rather imagine that we have two magnetic poles. We could say north or south, or this polarity and that polarity. Whereas the entire the mass consciousness, the human beings living on this planet used to live very close to this polarity. And if we have these polarities here, as we begin moving towards this polarity, which is over here, polarity to the right, we could call it, versus the polarity on the left. But rather it's moving from a 3-dimensional reality to a 5-dimensional reality. As we move up the scale, as we move up the vibrational scale to higher and higher levels of consciousness, we're going to start seeing old structures, old relationships, old beliefs, old habit patterns fall away almost magically. People will begin disappearing out of our lives. People will begin magically things will not work out. And it's, according to a 3D perspective, what we've been taught to do is blame ourselves. We've been taught to think that we're crazy. We've been taught to think as if though we are, something is wrong with us. But really, honestly and truly, there's nothing actually wrong with us per se. Really, it's just that the entire world, as a whole, the entire world is learning to actually adjust with these things. Now, certain people are more conscious of it than others. And those who are empathic, or those who are sensitive, or highly sensitive persons or people, are being affected by this the most. It's almost as if though because of the fact that we're so used to being in our emotional bodies, in our sensitive, our spiritual bodies all the time. As we start evolving to these higher levels of consciousness as a mass collective, what's ultimately going to happen and what we're starting to see is, things are just changing. People are falling out of our lives. Old goals that used to motivate us are not motivating us. Different places that we wanted to live or places we wanted to go, we don't want to do them. To our friends, to other people, it feels as if though we're, something's wrong with it. They say that something's wrong with us. And as a result, we label something like, we say, oh, I'm depressed. Oh, something's going wrong with me. Oh, I'm wrong for some reason. But, there's a little belief inside of us saying that, if I said that I wanted to do this, but now I want to do this, I'm wrong. But really, ultimately and truly what's happening is we're simply stepping into the ever-evolving, ever-expanding, ever-growing layers of our consciousness to these new depths, new levels, new higher levels, but greater levels of expansion, which were not previously available to us as a whole before. And what happens is, whether someone is just now stepping into spirituality or finding out about these things, or whether they've been a veteran all their life for 10 years, 20 years, 50 years, it doesn't matter. People are rapidly getting brought up to the same vibrational level. And as this happens, people who are, just now beginning to find out about spirituality, or they're just now becoming aware of the concepts of thought creates things, or, our consciousness creates our reality. People who are stepping into these new, we could say levels of, higher dimensions and whatnot, are seeing their lives rapidly change. People who have already been operating in these levels are seeing that the levels, it's almost as if though they thought that maybe a month ago or 6 months ago or 3 months ago or a year ago, they were at a level and they were like, oh, I've reached this new level of enlightenment, of consciousness, of being amazing, and this is it, like I can stay here. But because of the fact that our spirit is ever expanding and ever growing, there really is no final level. It's just an infinite number of levels. Now, as a result, what happens is as we move up to these higher dimensions and really become fully integrated, because really that's what it is that we're doing. We're integrating the 5D, the 4D, the 6D, the 7D, the 8D, the 9+D realities into our day-to-day existence. As we start integrating them, what's going to happen is things are going to spin out of our existence. They're going to spin out of our reality. They're going to spin out of our consciousness. Another synonym for spin out is leave, or they're going to exit our consciousness. This could be thoughts, beliefs, people, relationships, habits, anything, actions that we might have taken. But even goals, even sometimes it can even be our belief about ourselves or our identity might seem as if though it's slipping away or it's shifting. Really, all it's doing is just simply evolving. And as a result, people lately have been getting the urge to share their truth more. They've been feeling a deep inner compulsion to feel their truth, to not just feel their truth, but to share it with as many people, almost like sharing it from the top of the mountain, shouting it from the mountaintops as loudly as you can, and, sharing it unabashedly, unashamedly, sharing it without fear, sharing it without even hesitation sometimes. And what's happening is as we step into these high levels of consciousness, we're going to get to the point where all of a sudden, talking about things like aliens or, some people talk about starseeds or indigos or vibration or consciousness or astrology, astronomy, UFOs. Everyone has so many different interests. They could be interested in sharing even their passions. The way that this happens on people who may or may not know about these higher spiritual concepts is they might be posting YouTube videos about them playing a piano. They might be posting YouTube videos about how they think about the world, about why, their perspective about the world, why they think it should shift to a new higher dimension. And what's happening is ultimately everyone on the planet is getting affected by these collective energies which are beginning to arise to help the planet transition to a higher level and a higher dimension of what we call 3D, 4D, 5D reality, but higher dimensions is ultimately what it is that we're evolving to. And as a result, those people who are, we could say, empathic, spiritual, but who are very much in touch with themselves are feeling it, what we could say, feeling it the most. But everyone is feeling it on some shape, form, or level. It's just certain people have learned to almost block that level or block that part of themselves out. So as a result, what's happening right now is, if you're feeling crazy, if your family members think you're crazy, if your friends think you're crazy, if you even think you're crazy, if your mind is telling you you're crazy, it's okay. Because crazy is just the old world definition of crazy is, someone who's this or that, they've lost touch with reality. Really, those who are, right now, those who are crazy are really just connected. We should really stop saying, oh my God, I'm going crazy. Oh my God, everyone thinks I'm crazy. Really, ultimately and truly, you're just stepping into a further connection, with yourself, with your higher self, with your, higher dimensions, higher beings, higher levels of consciousness. And as you step into greater levels of connection, as you become more crazily connected, as you become this, and not just step into them, but ultimately, truly, genuinely become, you integrate them, not just with your mind, your body, your emotions, your spirit, but you integrate them almost with your very soul essence. You ultimately integrate them with who it is that you are as a being on the DNA level, the biological level, all the way up to these higher dimensions. As it becomes integrated, you're going to notice that you're going to start doing things, you're going to start saying things, you're going to start feeling things that you normally didn't do, wouldn't do, haven't done. Maybe you've never done certain things. But ultimately, it's coming from a place of greater connection and a place of greater clarity and a place of higher and greater guidance from higher universal sources. So really, I just wanted to make this video for all the people out there who are feeling as if though they're having a soul shakeup, or maybe they're going crazy, connected. They're feeling a little bit, as everyone says that they're crazy, connected. But ultimately and truly, it's just, there's no crazy. It's just we're getting connected. That's it. So, this is Alexander, and I hope that this is a interesting, possibly enlightening video. I did my best, because basically what's happening, even for me, myself, is imagine what it would be like to be getting downloads every single day, every single minute of every single day about every single topic, and it doesn't really matter what it's about. I could look at this little pen, I could almost get a certain type of download about this pen, but even for me, it's like I've started seeing almost blurring past the ideas of past and future. They've been blurring. The idea of time has been passing by. I wake up every day and it's like, there's the time, the seconds are passing, the clock is ticking, the calendar, the dates are moving. But ultimately and truly what's happening is I'm looking at these things, I'm like, to me, it's just everything is standing still, even though these external objects, these external circumstances, and these external events might be shifting around me. Ultimately and truly what's happening is I'm starting to step into what I would call my impermanence, and realizing that I am pretty much just a fixed point in the universe. And ultimately, everything evolves around me. Same thing is happening for everyone else, because if you're watching this video, ultimately, your universe revolves completely around you. If you're watching this video, it's like, your manifestation of me in your life is just me simply being a hologram for you, where it's just like other people who pop into my life are simply holograms. If you're watching this video, I'm simply your hologram. If I meet you and if I think that you're watching about this video, you're simply my hologram. It's, we're starting to realize, almost breaking out of the matrix, breaking out of these holograms. And hey, there's a transition period. So, sometimes we get depressed, sometimes we get discouraged, sometimes we feel like we are crazy. It's just really getting connected. But, sometimes we feel that we're old, traditionally crazy, but really nothing's happening with us. It's just we're getting more connected. So yeah, listen, I just wanted to make this video. Hopefully it explains a little bit, but yeah, cheers. Hope that works, but I hope everyone has a beautiful day. Cheers. Bye-bye.